Battlefield 1, a game that throws you into the chaos of World War I with trenches, tanks, and some seriously intense battles. It's almost a decade old now, but it still has a huge fan base, and for good reason. It feels incredibly real. But does it actually get World War I right, or is it just another Hollywood explosion fest? Well, let's get into it. Welcome to History Unfolded. So if you don't know, Battlefield 1 dropped in October 2016. It was made by DICE and is all about World War I. It shows the muddy trenches, the birth of tanks and battles all over the world. You'll fight in places like France, the Middle East, and even the Alps. The game's famous for feeling incredibly realistic, like the sound of artillery. Ooh, it'll give you chills. It was a huge hit with over 25 million players by 2018. And even today in 2025, tens of thousands of players are still playing it on Steam. So you know it's got that World War I vibe, but just how much of it is accurate? Let's start with the setting. World War I, from 1914 to 1918. This was a massive war, with the Allies like Britain, France, and later the US fighting the Central Powers like Germany and Austria-Hungary. It was brutal, with over 16 million people killed, and it's famous for trench warfare where soldiers lived in muddy ditches for months. Battlefield 1 completely nails that vibe. The trenches in maps like Amiens look so real, muddy, cramped, and full of chaos. They even have early tanks like the Mark IV, which the British really used back then. And the soldiers? You've got the Harlem Hellfighters, a real African-American unit, and even Indian troops fighting for Britain. It shows just how global this war was. The game takes you everywhere, from France to Gallipoli to the deserts of the Middle East, just like the real war. So far, it's feeling pretty legit. Now, let's talk about the military stuff. Does Battlefield 1 feel like a real World War I battlefield? Honestly, it's really close. The trench warfare is insane. You're charging over no man's land, dodging bullets, and it feels so chaotic, just like the real thing. They even have gas attacks with mustard gas that make you cough and scramble for a mask. That was a real World War I horror. The weapons, they're spot on too. Most soldiers used bolt-action rifles like the Lee Enfield for the British or the Gewehr 98 for the Germans, which is exactly what they had back then. But you know what they didn't have back then? A subscribe button. If you're enjoying this, hit that and a like to keep videos like this coming. On with the video. You've got bayonets and shovels for close combat, super accurate for the time, and the sound, oh man. The artillery booming, the screams. With the right equipment, it's like you're really there. The campaign stories, like driving a tank in through mud and blood or fighting at Gallipoli in the Runner, show how the war touched so many lives. It's intense, but let's be real, Battlefield 1 isn't perfect. First off, the weapons are a bit off. The game loves giving you automatic guns like the MP18, but in real World War I, most soldiers were stuck with bolt-action rifles. Automatics didn't get common until the very end of the war. The battles are way too fast as well. In multiplayer, you're always running and gunning, but real trench warfare was slow. Soldiers would sit in the mud for weeks waiting for something to happen. And the campaign, it's awesome, but it's more Hollywood than history. Like in Friends in High Places, you're one guy taking out a whole army. That's pure action movie stuff. The game also doesn't show how brutal the war really was. On the first day of the Somme, 60,000 British soldiers were killed or wounded. That kind of loss is hard to capture in a game. So, how realistic is Battlefield 1? We'd say it's 70% accurate, 30% vibe. It totally nails the World War I feel, the muddy trenches, the roaring tanks, the global battles. It all feels like you're in 1918. The diversity of soldiers like the Harlem Hellfighters is awesome too. But the automatic weapons, fast battles, and Hollywood-style campaign stories, makes it a little less than 100% real. Still, it's one of the best World War I games out there, and it really makes makes you feel the chaos of the war. And even if it's not perfect, DICE created the game incredibly tastefully as well, so kudos to them on that. Games like this can get you interested in history, but the action movie stuff might make you think World War I was less brutal than it really was. For us, it's a great mix of history and fun. So tell us, does Battlefield 1 feel real to you, or is it too Hollywood? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear from you. If you like the video, smash that like button and subscribe. We see those of you that have joined us recently, and a hearty welcome to the family. If you haven't seen it, also check out our Black Ops 6 video. We're diving into Cold War conspiracies. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Stay curious.